This is Lee Rosenbaum, and we are at Christie's at the David Rockefeller tag sale. His house contents are a lot more voluminous and a lot more pricey than your average garage sale. I'm not sure how many of these people are potential buyers or sightseers who want to see a collection of someone who had more stuff than almost anyone can imagine, with all his homes and all his good taste. Now we're in the American art galleries. There's a hopper over here, not necessarily a typical hopper, and a couple of Thomas Morans, one very different from the other. I kind of like this one. Tempestuous, not what I ordinarily associate with Moran, but his American holdings seems to be much more modest than his Impressionist modern holdings, which are probably, for me, the highlights of the collection. This, at the entrance to the Impressionist modern section, stopped me in my tracks. I didn't think that this was really David Rockefeller's taste. It's a de Kooning. But I was told that he actually had it in his office. Now we're getting into the sweet spot, the Gauguin. And it seems that he also had a sweet spot for voluptuous nudes. This Renoir, totally sumptuous and luxuriant. This Picasso, which is the star of the collection in terms of price, I believe the highest estimate work here. Definitely not voluptuous, but yet desirable.
Just weeks after it was painted in 1905, and it stayed with the Steins throughout Gertrude's life, and on Gertrude's death it passed to Alice B. Toklas, and then when Alice died it was part of the great Gertrude Stein estate that came onto the market in the mid-1960s. It was valued by Jean Thor, the whole estate was valued at $6.8 million, which was a huge sum of money, of course, and David Rockefeller formed a syndicate of 6 New York collectors and benefactors to MoMA to buy the collection en bloc and then divide it amongst themselves with a view to donating to the modern pictures that they needed for their collection. One syndicate member actually dropped out, so it became 5 collectors in the end, and David took on that extra slot, so he had 2 picks, and he drew numbers 1 and number 3 in the draft. And so he got pick number 1, and with that he said he and Peggy had no hesitation, this was their pick number 1. Pick number 3 was the Picasso Orta del Ebro, which had been given to MoMA. And
of course this Matisse Odalisque, another one of the great highlights of the sale. One of the most important of the Impressionist modern offerings is Monet Water Lilies. And a little gem of a Manet flower bouquet. And I just saw Cleveland Museum Director Bill Griswold among the celebrants. I don't know if he's planning to buy for the Cleveland Museum. He's on the right there speaking with a couple of people. Maybe with donors, I don't know. A friend of mine had asked me what had most struck me about the Rockefeller collection. And I immediately said, I can't believe any one person could have so much stuff. And what I was really thinking of were these rooms on the 2nd floor with all kinds of dinnerware, figurines. Here's a whole chest of plates and silverware. And they've made this into a kind of aviary. You can hear a little chirping going on, sort of trying to do the same effect that the Met's Versailles show does, of putting you in a you are there kind of a mode. And a ridiculous amount of china, all different patterns, huge numbers of settings. And I'm walking around here hoping I don't become a bull in a china shop because I've got a camera hanging off my arm. I've got to be careful. If you break it, you've got to take it, I imagine. And we were told that these botanical patterns on the back of each plate, it actually tells you what you're looking at in terms of what these flowers are. They're pretty exquisite, if you ask me. And here at the top gallery for the collection, we have David's ducks. Surprisingly, up here, we don't encounter too many paintings, but we do encounter Gilbert Stuart's George Washington. And we even come upon a smattering of New Guinea and of Africa. Who knew? And here we have the Rockefeller bling. And there's lots of it. Let's see, maybe I can afford a cufflink. In looking at all these paintings, it's important to remember that he allowed museums to get a lot of the best of what he had. He was very philanthropic, especially when it came to the Museum of Modern Art, with which he had a strong and lasting connection. So, strange as it may sound, what you see here may be the leavings after the cream was already skimmed off. There are, of course, a few notable exceptions to that, but otherwise, a lot will depend on whether there is a Rockefeller effect, whether things are going to be going for higher than expected, ordinarily expected, because of the illustrious provenance. Time will tell. And if the Rockefeller effect is really powerful, and I'm not saying it will be, it remains to be seen, maybe it'll even extend to this Alexander Calder portrait of the golfer John Z. Rockefeller. Not sure if that's John Z. the first, second, or third, but this is not in the Rockefeller sale. It was not owned by Rockefeller. It's in the post-war and contemporary art morning sale. Totally off the Rockefeller subject, but very much on a subject that's been covered extensively in my Culture Go blog. This is a painting from LaSalle University Art Museum, deaccessioned by the university to raise funds for non-museum purposes. It is now on display at Christie's. And if the Rockefeller sale really has coattails, then maybe this Matisse nude of the same model, Henriette, who was in the Rockefeller sale, will be snapped up by the underbidder who failed to get the other one. This is in the regular Impressionist and Modern sale at Christie's, previously owned by Dr. and Mrs. Jerome Coles, bearing a much lower pre-sale estimate than the Rockefeller. And here we are at MoMA with the paintings from David Rockefeller that Christie's didn't get, now happily ensconced where they were promised at the Museum of Modern Art, a Brock, a Devin, a Matisse, a Dufy, and most notably, to me at any event, Cézanne. But last and not least, let's go into another gallery where we'll see something quintessentially important that finally came from him. It was a promised gift, and now it's here. It's the seminal Picasso Cubist painting from 1909 that's been long awaited and is finally here.